Hello, greetings. You out there in podcast land. Maybe you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast, or even online, just wherever you are. You might be watching YouTube. Aren't you in for a treat? Welcome to the Marry Your Best Friend podcast. I'm John Stewart. I'm sitting next to my beautiful bride of 35 wonderful years, Suzanne. And well, one of us is getting older.
I think we're both getting older.
No, you're the one that's aging. Your birthday is this weekend.
I'm going to be older before you. Well, actually, we're the same age for about 2 weeks.
You think so?
I know
Is
so.
that how that works?
That's how the math works.
You're
yeah.
rolling back to your 40s as well?
Yeah, okay. My knees are telling me that is not so.
Well, I am excited to talk about this podcast topic because we are talking about embracing every age, celebrating birthdays, and the journey of getting older. And you, of course, are the next birthday. So why?
No,
your birthday's in a couple of days. So tell me, why are you like all week long? You've been saying things like, "I'm not looking forward to this birthday. 58 is not fun."
Yeah.
Why is that? Why are you not excited about this birthday?
It's just so close to 60.
It is. You see it creeping in?
Yeah, I mean, like I remember what my mom was like at this age and what I was doing.
Crazy.
Well, no, but I mean, like, am I really that age? Like, she seems so old, and that just seems impossible that I'm this. I don't know. My knees hurt. My back hurts. My shoulder hurts.
You got a lot of hurts going on.
I got a lot of hurt going on.
Well, here we go. So let's talk about your birthday. It's coming up in just a couple of days, and
A few days.
Yeah, in a few days. And I've decided, whatever age I am, it's the new 30.
And it's good because you need to replace your old 30 with something.
I do.
Yeah, your original 30 was no bueno.
I kind of had a midlife crisis at my 30th birthday.
Yes, you did.
And it kind of reframed everything that we are about. And
I was big, pregnant, and with our first one, and you were having a breakdown.
Well, let's talk about.
You have never liked your birthday, though.
Well, but I've had different birthdays. I mean, there was when we were first married for a number of years. I liked to be alone on my birthday. Remember, I used to go camping or used to go.
You still like to be
riding.
alone on your birthday.
I just don't like the big celebration.
You just don't like your birthday.
Do you
period.
like the fact that since Facebook came out about 15 years ago, everybody greets you on your birthday?
Well, that's lovely. Yes, of
It
course.
says, "Suzanne, happy birthday. Happy birthday, Suzanne."
Yeah. I just don't want people to feel obligated to say happy birthday to me just because it pops up on your Facebook.
Yeah, well, your birthday this year is on Super Bowl Sunday.
I know, so I have a feeling that people will be pretty, preoccupied.
There's going to be a lot of commercials on your birthday. That'll be worth watching. That'll be fun.
We don't watch Super Bowl really, do we?
I love the commercials. I love all
Commercials
the
are fun.
I hear there's a new Pato Award commercial that's coming out for
Really?
Fox. Yeah, because Fox is broadcasting the Super Bowl.
I do like those new
the
driver commercials on Fox.
Yeah, they had a great
those
one
are
on Joseph Newgarden, and I hear they're have a
clever.
new one on Alex Palou that is out now.
Yeah, I like those. Those are fun.
And so
it
Fox
gets me excited because it's coming.
It is coming. The start of the IndyCar season is less than 4 weeks away.
No,
And Suzanne is excited about that.
that makes everything a little bit better.
I know. I recently got back from the 24 Hours of Daytona race, which is not an IndyCar race. It's a sports car race. But a lot of IndyCar drivers are driving there, so it's fun to see Scott Dixon behind the wheel and Felix Rosenqvist and Kyle Kirkwood. And
even though he wasn't behind the wheel.
Elio is about to drive in the Daytona 500 in a couple of weeks.
I know. I'm scared for him.
Are you?
Yeah. I mean, NASCAR. That's a whole different. That's a different animal. I'm not a NASCAR fan, so I don't care for the rules. I think it's a little boring. There's not as much passing, all that kind of thing. I just don't like it so much. But I just think he's a little bit on the high class for NASCAR.
You do? You think
I
he's
do.
a little high class?
I think he's a little bit on the
Dancing
high
with the
class.
Stars, I don't know if they've ever had a champion race at the Daytona 500. So, but he enters a rare crowd. I mean, not very many people get to, win the Indy 500. And then, he's won the Rolex before.
Who else? Who else? Anybody had won the five? Did Tony Stewart didn't win the 500, but he was very successful.
Mario Andretti and Jay Foyt
going back and
those guys.
forth.
Yeah, this is not our podcast. Is not about sports, even though you do like some sports, mainly motor sports.
Yeah.
But we're not going to cover that really that much. We are going to talk about you getting older, And
my favorite topic.
Well, no,
Why do you think I'm deflecting?
one of the things we have on here, our producer gave us some great notes.
Okay.
And it talks about understanding emotions around aging. Discuss common feelings people have about aging. How do you feel about aging? I mean, you're at a wonderful place right now. You've got 3 adult children and a beautiful daughter-in-law.
The thing is, I don't long for I don't yearn to be younger.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people that have midlife crisis situations, they long for those days when they were younger and thinner and I don't really yearn for that. I yearn for my body to feel a little bit better, not have to use the Voltaren on my knees and all that kind of thing. But my head is where it's supposed to be. And I would never go back to the way I thought or things that I felt when I was in my 30s or 20s. You know what I mean? Like, I really like where my state of mind is.
One of the things I never really thought about when we were like in our 20s and 30s, you look at people our age, and we thought they were ancient and they were old.
Oh, yeah.
And
they were our parents.
But like your parents, when your mom was this age, you had a view of her.
Yeah.
But what's funny, I remember asking my dad many years ago, would you rather have the mind of a 30-year-old or the body of a 30-year-old? What do you think he said?
I think he said the body of a 30-year-old.
Nope, he said the mind. Even though he's a runner, and
really,
yeah, Dad always liked running.
That surprises me about your dad.
No, Dad was a big runner, and he always loved getting older when he was a runner because he would get to compete against the old guys. So like when he became 50,
he was in better shape, and he would compete against the old guys.
Yeah, because when you're in age class, so in your 30s, you're racing against people in your 30s, and when you become 40, you're racing against that master class. And I think I've shared this with you before. I remember when Doug Bowles and I were working together, he used to spend a lot of his lunch breaks going over to the pool over at Carmel High School and swimming. And he had a real goal of entering the master's class. So he could not wait until he turned 40 so he could race in the master's class. And he was a swimmer in college and is in really good shape, obviously. But he was training, and he couldn't wait to compete in the master's class. And so once he turned 40, he entered a race. And to hear him tell the story is funny because he said he got on the starting blocks and he was all ready to race against the old guys. And he looked to his left, and it was another guy in his 40s, Olympian Rowdy Gaines, like a world record holder. And he quickly realized...
Kind of burst his bubble
because he said as he dove in, he just saw... He was in the wake of Rowdy Gaines. He just took off and had a different gear. And Dad was that way. He always wanted to go to kind of the next class to run against the old guys. But he said the reason why he wanted to have the body... or not the body, but the mind. He said, one of his biggest fears was getting older, and if dementia were set in, his mind was not as sharp as it was when he was younger. And what's interesting is, I was not prepared when we think about old people or older people. I didn't think that as we got older, that our mind really stays the same.
I totally feel like you came in a while ago, and
turned you on. You saw me, and when I walk in the room, all of a sudden, I
just get all hot and bothered.
I know that's usually the way it is.
But I mean, I had my speaker on and stuff, and it's that's.
You're listening to your music and all that kind of stuff, but
and it's what makes me feel normal, But it's not like what I would have thought in my early 30s or my late 20s. What an almost 60-year-old woman would be listening to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
but my mind stays like that. That's where I am.
Well, and I've said this before that everybody. I think everybody has a life age. And when I say 30, whatever age I am, it's the new 30. It's because I feel like I'm 30 and like that age. But somebody who is old at 18, they're still old now. Like if they're 50,
Jules.
Yeah, Jules is
an old. I think all of our kids actually are very old souls.
Yeah.
They're kind of homebodies. Julianne is 21, but she's not going out to the clubs. She's not going out having big time fun.
We've raised
very
an old
happy
lady. Yeah. She would love to go into retired living right now.
She wants to move in with grandma and get her 3 meals and get her hair fixed once a week.
On Wednesday.
Hey, let me not discourage any young boy out there though that might want a nice.
If old ladies turn you on, we've got a 21-year-old. That you can have for a long time.
She's a writer.
She likes getting her hair done once a week. She likes.
Yeah, she likes to just hang and take things slow, and that's okay. Jay Daniel's the same way. John Andrew's kind of a homebody, but he likes to travel. That's the thing. He's got that travel gene from you and your dad. He's big into travel, but I think I'm happy where I am. You know, I think that I know more now than I did. I don't think I would want my brain when I was 30.
You don't think so?
No. I was in such a bubble growing up too, you know, that I feel like I know so much more about the world. I know so much more about places that we visited and, you know, things like that. I feel like, gosh, my brain is just full. Sometimes I feel like all the drawers in my brain are full anyway. Well,
let's talk about the societal pressures and personal reflections that come with each new decade. Okay. So let's say like in the 20s, thank you, producer, for giving us all these notes. But in the 20s is really about exploration and identity formation. And it says the societal pressures. There is a strong emphasis on higher education, starting a career, and establishing independence. We got married in our young 20s. I was 23, you were 22.
Super young 20s. Yeah, I was 22.
But it says this decade often features societal expectations of figuring out one's identity and direction in life. We have a household like our family of 20-year-olds right now. Mm-hmm. And I mean, John Andrew at 27 years of age, he's
28, babe.
28. Sorry, he's 28. He's considering, you know, he has a full-time job. He's really good at it, but he's also considering, is this really what I want to do for the rest of my life?
Yeah. And because it's not really a career. I mean, it is a career, but it's not where he wants to be for the rest of his life.
Yeah. And it's interesting because like
he wants to make a pivot here pretty soon.
Andrew is a mechanic, and he's a really good mechanic. He's really good. He works for a large corporation in one of their locations, and he works on all kinds of cars. But his frustration has been, as he said to both you and I, it's like he's tired of fixing people's other people's mistakes. Like somebody brings a car in that and he'll tell them what's wrong with it, and sometimes because of budget or whatever reason they won't actually get everything fixed. They'll say, "Well, can you just do this?" Or
they try to do it themselves. Anyway, he
or
feels
other
like
mechanics fix it. Yeah, he feels like he's fixing other people's problems.
He feels like he is constantly fixing other people's mistakes.
Yeah,
and he would love to just work on cars where that's his car. If he made the mistake, then he fixes it. But he's not constantly backtracking.
And it's interesting because, you know, I've worked in racing for a number of years or around racing, and he has always enjoyed racing and always enjoyed motorsports. But he said something that was different than I hadn't thought about from a mechanic's perspective. He says, I love the thought of having a car or a portion of the car that I'm responsible for. Mm-hmm. And the whole goal is to make it better. And when it comes back in, to tear it down, make it better. And so
he knows exactly what he had done before, so he can go from that point.
Build on. And he really wants to be responsible for the performance of that car. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of him at 28 years of age, that he's not getting fulfilled in just fixing the average person's
It's not just going to work and bringing home a paycheck. It's something that he wants to feel proud of, and something that he wants to excel at, you know, and get better instead of just going in and doing your thing and coming home.
Well, and my dad, I remember one of the things my dad said to me was, don't worry about what you do for a living between the age of 28 and 32. And I said, what do you mean by that? He said, your job before you turn 32 is just to get as much experience as you possibly can, and learn as much as you can. Take jobs where you learn and you're doing new things and you're stretching. Because he says most men, and I don't know if this is true in women or not, but most men between the age of 28 and 32 will have a big career shift. And he goes, all that experience you got in your 20s should be leading you into that career shift and you know, finding another job. And
well, I'm sure it is for men and women. It wasn't for me. Just because I came out of the womb, I think, knowing what I was going to do. So I'm an anomaly that way.
Well, and it says that during the 20s, many individuals reflect on their newfound independence. So like we were that way. We loved being alone and kind of building our own life. And I think, you know, Andrew and Natalie are doing the same thing. And each of our kids is doing that. But exploring personal interests, you know, during your 20s, I think that's, you know, when I picked up the golf sticks and
did you not play golf before?
Not really. I mean, during the 20s is really when I started
playing
golf. Yeah, really started playing it. But exploring personal interests, I look at Jay Daniel. You know, he loves gaming and he loves his 3D making and all that kind of stuff. He goes to work. Both of our boys are interesting because, like, I never stop working really. Like, my mind is always working, and I'm taking calls late into the night. And I'm waking up early and I'm kind of hitting it. But they love having a job that they go to at a certain time, and they come home at a certain time, and they're done at 5 o'clock or 6 or whatever time they finish. And then they have their own personal interests. My personal interests were always kind of woven into my job. And so,
Well, I think too, that's kind of your personality. And B, that was just the nature of your job and is the nature of your job.
well, it's interesting to me because like J. Daniel comes home from work, he'll get cleaned up, he'll take a nap or whatever, and then he goes about what he loves to do, which is either gaming or watching his political videos or
His
3D,
podcasts,
his podcasts,
he does,
3D printing and all that kind of stuff. But he has his own
Legos.
personal interests, whatever it may be.
He's a brilliant
But
little
also
Lego
in the 20s,
guy.
people are experiencing significant life transitions. Buying the first house, moving out on their own, having a new career, having friends when they move into new places and things of that nature. During our 20s, we moved to Nashville. We got married, we moved to Nashville, and that's where we finished out our 20s.
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah, we were there just this weekend, just for a day. Had to go down for some activities. And we drove by our first apartment, just because it's on the route and all that. And you go back and you think, oh my gosh, I was 22 years old. That was the first place I ever made or tried to make a home for us.
We had our first decorating at Christmas and
I only
first
knew how
furniture.
to do it just from like watching my mom do stuff. I didn't have my own way of doing things then. I very much have my own way of doing things now. That doesn't mean that I don't reach back and grab some of those fantastic memories that, my mom was a great memory maker for us when we were kids, and she really instilled in us tradition. And I try to do that with our kids, and so I do reach back and pull some of that out, but we definitely have made our own.
Well, and it was interesting because in the 20s, when we are figuring stuff out, and we had our first place, and then we had our first house, and then we moved to another house, and we
moved a lot.
no, but
in Nashville.
But we were there in the 20s, or during that period of time, and we did have the transition too. I had to transition from being a single man with all my wonderful furniture and all my decor.
You didn't really have furniture. You had
I
like
had a futon. I had a futon
and an elephant seat.
And I had a desk. I had a glass desk. Remember, I had that beautiful glass desk, and had all this.
You
great,
did love that glass desk.
I did,
didn't you?
but I had all kinds of great single
that.
male stuff that when we got married, you just kind of put into the second room, and eventually it just kind of disappeared. And I even remember, like, one of the things I had that I don't know where it disappeared to, but my 10-pound bass that I used to have hanging on the wall, at some point that...
I don't know where that is either, and I'm not opposed to that.
Whatever.
I mean, look behind us. We got horns hanging on the wall. It's
do
okay.
indeed.
I don't mind.
So during the 20s...
Lord knows I'm
exploration,
not the
identity
one that
formation.
decorates around here.
So then the 30s, that decade of the 30s, is really supposed to be about building and stability. It says societal pressures focus shifts to career advancement, starting or growing a family.
That was me at my 30s was having babies.
Yep, you had a 30.
I had J. Daniel at 29,
Yeah, I
and
was
then J. Daniel. How old was I with him?
I don't know,
33, 34.
But it says focus shifts to career advancement,
37
starting or
with
growing a
Jules.
family, and financial stability. That's something we never have really had, but during the 30s, you're supposed to be focusing on financial stability. Actually, financial stability in the 30s, that's when we were introduced to Dave Ramsey and the Financial Peace University.
And that worked out great.
It worked out great. We have been through Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University in every
Many
single
times.
church. Dave started that financial
We talked about
teaching.
this before.
Yeah, Dave started that financial teaching in our Sunday school class, the couples class at Christ Church, and we have talked about this before. But it was interesting because that was our first exposure to putting a budget together and kind of trying to figure things out.
I mean, at least you lived on your own in your 20s. I never lived
I didn't really
on
live
my own.
Neither one of us lived on our own because our parents were still paying for whatever we went through.
Yeah, but I mean, I
did have my own
literally
apartment.
never lived on my own. Like I never had my own apartment. I went from my bedroom to the dorm room, from the dorm room
Into marriage.
into an apartment with you. Yeah, I never had that, kind
It
of.
says during the 30s, there
time.
may be pressure to settle down and achieve a certain level of success. I was quite a hotshot in my 30s, career-wise, wasn't I? Do you remember that? Yeah, I mean, I worked in music, then we moved to Oregon during
Yeah.
the 30s, and then we moved back to Texas. But,
Yeah.
we
We were here when you were in your 30s, actually, too.
I turned 40 in this house.
Right.
But it says people often evaluate their career choices and personal relationships, seeking balance between personal life and professional aspirations. So, 30s is really about building stability. And then you enter the 40s. It says the decade of the 40s is about reevaluation and fulfillment. Societal pressures, there can be pressure to maintain career success and manage family responsibilities while also preparing for the future. Society often expects individuals to have reached a certain level of success in their 40s. So,
well, that's what, society
most people think that
expects
in your 40s, you're pretty stable. I remember my 40th birthday. We're speaking of birthdays. My 40th birthday was here in this room. My family, I was...
at your request.
At my request.
That's what you ask for.
Yeah, in my 40s. Actually, when I turned 40, I had left the IndyCar series, and I was helping the Andretti team.
Oh, yeah.
With the St. Pete race down in St. Pete when I was turning 40.
Oh, yeah.
And
it was Andretti.
we were doing the Honda Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, kind of launching that, and then I ended up staying on with the team to help with some sponsorship. Which
and you were gone
Danica,
for weeks at a time.
And Michael's last 500, all that kind of stuff. But what was interesting about that, though, was I chose to have a Curious George birthday party because we had 3 young kids. They loved Curious George. The Curious George movie was coming out.
Yeah,
and we went and saw the movie. And my cake. I mean, every man dreams of on their 40th birthday
You had
having
Curious
a Curious George cake.
balloons.
I was the man in the yellow hat. And my kids loved celebrating.
They loved it.
Celebrating Curious George and things of that nature. But during the 40s, it says this period can bring a revelation of life's goals and choices, with many experiencing what is termed a midlife crisis. So
We didn't have that at 40, I don't think. Well, I didn't. I don't think I've ever had a midlife crisis.
I had my first one at 30, and then
about every 2 or 3 years after you turn 30, you pretty much had a crisis.
I don't see this in the notes here. But it says this
That's
period
the absolute hand to God truth. About every 2 to 3 years, you had some kind of existential crisis.
So that's a big word you just used there. So I'll come back to that. So it says during the 40s, it says that this could lead to significant personal growth or change after having that midlife crisis. So the 40s for us was really a settling time. I mean, I didn't mind.
I was just busy. I had little kids.
I didn't mind turning 40. I didn't mind turning 41, 42, 43. I turned 45 like 8 times, I think. And, but then I was working with the Boy Scouts when I turned 50. I remember they threw me a party for...
I was always the oldest mom in Julianne's class. And that was kind of freeing for me because once that number 3 kid, because I had her late in life, once I sent her to school and I remember... my days were back. Like I had a few hours to myself and that was incredible. And the other moms would go, oh, are you going to come to lunch? And I'm like, no, I haven't been by myself in years.
That's funny.
So 40s were me just corralling the kids and going to 4-H and taking care of the horses and going to horseback riding lessons. And I don't think I had time to think about myself.
But I look back at the 40s. That was a wonderful time because our kids were young. They were doing a ton of activities.
They were busy. It was very fun. We were learning about autism a lot.
Yeah, we were. We were. But the 40s for us, the 40s is it's called reevaluation and fulfillment. And we definitely reevaluated and were fulfilled and during that period of time. Going into the 50s, it says that 50 should be about legacy and contribution
and menopause.
There you go. Well, you've had a long battle.
10 years is a long time to have to struggle with that.
Well, it says societal pressures during your 50s. Focus may shift toward maintaining health and preparing for retirement. We don't maintain our health or prepare for retirement.
You don't maintain your health. I try to take care of my old creaky body.
You do with Voltaren.
With Voltaren and lots of Advil.
Yeah, you just like to apply creams and lotions
and pop a pill. Yeah. I don't have time for anything else really.
Well, we've talked about this. I mean, a lot of people our age are thinking. My brother retired at 55.
Which was pretty crazy. I mean,
and a lot of military guys and ladies, after they put their 20 years in, they're ready to retire and usually have a second career. My brother chose, instead of kind of having a second career, which a lot of people who are in the diplomatic corps like he was, they will then go and be like a board member or a banker or something like that.
He didn't want any part of that.
He didn't. I remember the U.S. government, when you do retire out, they have a special class where, his last 2 months of employment were going through a transitions type of a class where they were helping them transition. Here's what you did in the military or what you did in the government, and here's how those jobs can translate into the private sector. So if you were,
but he was phoning it in at that point.
well,
He knew what he was going to do.
I remember being in my office, and all of a sudden I got a LinkedIn request from my brother. I'm like, what in the heck is my brother doing with LinkedIn? Well, that was one of the days. They were like, okay, today we're going to put your profile together and put this thing together. And everybody else would be like, seeking opportunities to lead, executive management teams, or seeking board opportunities.
I think when you're in the military like that, though, you're in that kind of a bubble, Well,
but I envy my friends who are able to retire in their 50s because they still have plenty of life left. And
so sure. Look at what your brother's doing.
Well, but what I was going to tell you is in my brother's LinkedIn profile where it says what your job is or what your aspirational job is, you know what it said? Adventurer.
Oh, I was right.
That's what he wanted. Yeah, his goal was not to work, but just to kind of, and like today,
an adventurer.
Yeah, today he's in Oman. I think he said it was his 120th country to travel in.
Does he come Friday? He comes on Friday.
He's coming, yeah. So we'll be hearing about his stories for the next several days. But what's interesting about my brother and other people who retire young like that, though, they have government insurance for the rest of their life. They have a pension.
His house was paid off by the time he retired, too.
Well, yeah, that was
he worked for that.
So he's kind of in this.
He could
people who
play.
People who are in their 50s thinking about legacy and preparing for retirement. One of the things they did was they bought a house 10 years before they were retiring, and they wanted to pay it off in 10 years so that when they did retire, it was owned.
Right.
And
it was really smart business plan.
It was really smart. But what I was saying was all these people who retire from the military or government jobs in their 50s, they have plenty of time to start something new. They can take risk because they already have a pension. It may not be at the full amount that they want to earn, but they have insurance and things like that. So then it gives them the freedom to take a charity job, work with a nonprofit.
Which is not going to be your...
No.
Be your path.
No. My retirement scheme, originally it was thinking that our son, who was a mechanic, he was at first an incredible computer programmer. I just knew he was going to IPO some company in his 20s or 30s.
I know. You used to tell everybody, well, all the kids that played sports, you come back and talk to me when your son is working for my son.
Yeah, I always thought that. But
he is one of the smartest kids out there. He
loves doing
points it in one direction. Yeah.
What's funny is it says, preparing for retirement, says there can also be a societal expectation to mentor the younger generation. So this is like when you want to give back, when you become a scout leader, when you become a youth group leader, when you become, some way of mentoring. And I was blessed with great mentors in my life. And, having the opportunity to mentor some younger people, trying to give them opportunities. I
try to do that. I just do it in a different way.
Yeah. And I'm having this relationship right now with a friend's daughter who, they basically said, you need to go get a job. And then introduced me to her. And we've been talking about where God's kind of leading her next. And she really wants to go in the ministry. And so, sometimes that mentoring of that young person really does give you great fulfillment. And I understand why people want to do that in their 50s. But so personal reflection says individuals often reflect on their achievements during their 50s, consider their legacy, because a lot of people in their 50s, some of their career highlights were when they were in their 20s and 30s. And, they can look back on them. And I remember my friend Grant Hubbard told me one time, he said, these people are paying me just to give them advice of what I know. Because he had 20 years of being in his industry, and now he's at a consultant era where they're just paying him for this knowledge because he's got all this great experience, but now he can monetize that experience. And I guess I'm that way too. I can monetize some of my marketing experience and things of that nature, through consulting and whatnot. But it says individuals also reflect on their achievements, consider their legacy. So I consider my legacy. I always think about, things that I can pass down to my kids.
What do you think my legacy is? I mean, it's not like I had a big job or
but your
anything
legacy,
like that.
Your legacy is all the lives you've touched. I mean, not only your own kids, but just everybody else who's come in. I mean, there's a reason why you're mom to all, but you definitely have a good legacy. It says explore new hobbies in their 50s or interests. People. Well,
gosh, we definitely did that. I taught myself how to do all the farm stuff because Lord knows I didn't have any experience doing that. And I definitely did that through my 40s and into my 50s. I still like to just learn. I just want to know how to do stuff.
Well, it says people in their 50s often are seeking ways to contribute meaningfully to society. So people looking for good volunteer jobs, good things they can give back to society. So here we go into the 60s. What I love about this article or paper that our producer gave us says 60s and beyond. So they don't even go beyond 60s. It's 60s and beyond. So we're about to enter into the beyond. When we turn,
gosh.
when we turn 50, they give us, literally the day you turn 50 in your mailbox, you will have an invitation to join AARP.
I know. I've yet to join, just under, protest.
Yes, but it says during your 60s and beyond, reflection and freedom. And most of our friends who are in their 60s, they love it. I mean, because you are settled. It says societal pressures, emphasis is often on enjoying retirement and dealing with aging. I mean, we were just with our friend Lisa. She turned 60 a year ago or so.
She's having fun.
She's having fun. She threw herself a big party. She wanted everybody to be in black tie and, sparkly type stuff.
She's got grandkids. She's having a good time.
But it says society may pressure individuals to show wisdom and become peaceful with life decisions.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely... I guess I won't be able to say the exact word,
You
but
can say it. I mean, people know us, but Suzanne said that she's out of fucks.
my bucket is empty. I just don't
like you used
care.
to care. You used to care and you used to be upset about things, and now you just let it go.
Yeah, it's just like, come on, whatever. I'm not going to argue with you about that. Just, it's not important enough. Life is too short to.
So you're out.
Be pissed off all the time.
But it says society may pressure individuals to show wisdom and become peaceful with life decisions. It also says many reflect on life's journey. That's probably why I write my funeral out.
Oh my gosh! I have such instructions, and I'm just telling you right now, I might not follow them.
I think you should
to the letter.
No, you shall.
I think that you're going to be gone, and I can do what I want.
Well.
Because my bucket's empty.
But, it's interesting because people should think about their funeral planning and what their legacy is.
Yeah, that's true.
I've talked about this years ago, but I went through a men's experience with a bunch of guys from church that was letters from Dad, where we wrote a letter. We went as a class for four sessions or four.
You met some wonderful men during that.
I did, but we each wrote a letter to our wife, and we took you out to dinner, and we read the letter to you to let you know how much we love you and care and all that gabblegook. But I wrote you a letter, and we went out to dinner, and I read it to you. And then you have to write a letter to your parents, whether they're living or not living, and kind of a letter of gratitude to them. And that was difficult for some men. And then a letter to our kids. So I wrote a letter to each of the kids telling them what I thought about them. But the hardest one to write was the letter upon your death. And, to write, there's a letter, and I'm sure.
See, I just don't like any of that.
But that was 10 years ago, but that is thinking about legacy, about, what do I really want my kids to know? And, I
just don't like to think about it. You know how I feel about that.
I do know how you feel about it, but I also want
I want to be responsible, but I just don't like to discuss it.
Yeah. I mean,
I never have.
When you think about things of legacy, though, to me, it's about passing on faith to my kids. I want them to find peace with God. I want them to find purpose in what they were created for. I care about legacy as it relates to, my kids finding careers that they love. And, you say life's too short. It's like, yeah, go do things you like. Go make an impact.
Do what you love. I mean, if you love serving coffee to people and having conversations with them, you know what? That's okay. That's fantastic. You might be the only happy that person sees, And if that's your purpose, then fantastic.
Yeah. Well,
it doesn't have to be some, life-altering, world-changing, experience.
But legacy is a big word. I mean, it's like, you talked about motorsports. The NASCAR team that was started by Richard Petty was sold, and Maury Gallagher bought it, and they called it like Petty GMR. But when they invited Jimmy Johnson into the ownership group, they changed the name of the team. They got rid of Petty's name, and they didn't call it Jimmy Johnson Motorsports or anything of that nature. They called it Legacy Motorsports because it was about generations following. And here's a guy who won 7 NASCAR championships that didn't put his name on the team, and now he owns the rest of that team. He bought out Maury Gallagher.
Cool.
But it's called Legacy Motor Club. And you think about legacy, and somebody who's in that position now, he's in a mentoring position and growing a really large company. I remember when our friend Kevin owned that outdoor store. The first time I saw a Dale of Norway sweater, I remember looking at it going, "Oh, this is a cool ski sweater." He goes, "Oh, that's a legacy sweater." I said, "Really?" He goes, "Oh, that'll be around for generations. You'll give that sweater to your kid." And I was like, "Wow, that's awesome." And then I realized,
I'll take 3.
Well, I bought one. And then I was like, which one of my kids is going to get this? And then I got a second one thinking that, okay, John Andrew will get the black ski sweater. And first off,
Our kids will never.
I can't display this right now, but the ski sweater. If you remember the drunk uncle skit in the Saturday Night Live news, the drunk uncle that came in, he wore this like Will Ferrell
like the same sweater,
elf type sweater with the snowflakes on it. That's what the Dale of Norway sweater is. And so I got one that John Andrew can have. Then I bought another one that's like black and brown. That was like, oh, that'll be Jay Daniels sweater. And then I bought a third one, which is the gray one. I was like, oh, Julianne will have this someday. Because
it has the matching hat.
It has a matching hat. She loves a hat. But that sales, I mean, my friend Kevin got me with the word legacy because all this, and it's like same thing. I remember the first time I ran the half marathon, the mini marathon in Indy, they give you the medal and I'm like, oh, I can't wait. I'm going to put this. Actually, it's right over there in that case. It was like, someday my kid will have this. And, he'll remember when his fat dad got off the couch and ran 13 and a half miles. And but then I realized, wait, I got 2 more kids. So I got it 2 more times. So I did it 3 times. So there's 3 medals.
And then you were done.
And I was done. Yeah. I mean, unless we adopt more kids.
Oh, no.
I don't think my daughter-in-law is going to say, hey, I really
would like to have one really of those mini marathon medals. If you don't mind.
But the word legacy. I would also
like to be included.
Yeah, the word legacy, though, kind of got me with that. So anyway, all right. So moving on. Looking back through the decades, I mean,
this hasn't made me feel any better about turning 58, by the way.
Oh, let's pivot then. Let's pivot into the role.
It's not making me happier.
I'm sorry. The role of a spouse in celebrating milestones and birthdays.
Oh.
So what's my job in all this? I mean, like, first off, because you're a teacher, you love the holidays, you love decorating, you do Christmas better than anybody.
Oh.
You do Easter, you do Thanksgiving. It's like all the different holidays.
We skip Valentine's, though, because we have, this month is slammed.
Hey, this year I'm taking you to a hotel. We're going to a couples event that night. We are celebrating Valentine's Day this year. Can't wait. But I'm really looking forward to it. But let's talk about a spouse's role in a birthday. So, like, for our kids, you always put balloons up, however many balloons.
I used to do that. Now that when they hit 20,
they're done.
Well, I'll get them balloons, but I used to individually blow up a balloon for however old they were. So if they were 10, they got 10 balloons that were, on the windows. Yeah, and all that. But I could not blow up more than 20. So at 21, they get like significant, like large balloons.
Well,
and stuff.
And for the kids,
it's pretty. I still decorate for them.
All of our birthdays here at the house, we have cake for breakfast.
Tradition.
And you get the red plate that says you're special. And we have cake for breakfast, and we love celebrating cake for breakfast. And but like, how can a spouse help you be supportive? I'm trying to listen and we're doing this podcast because you're having a hard time turning 58.
Oh, is that the reason we're doing
Absolutely,
the podcast? Oh, it's all for me. So everybody can know that I'm having a hard time.
Well, no, but on your 50th birthday, I gave you a trip with all your girlfriends.
Yes, that was fabulous.
I could have taken you to Vegas and had a great time, but instead you went with your girlfriends.
I did. I had a wonderful time. Yeah. And 50 was a little bit hard for me too. It was a little hard because it was that, that milestone. 40, my kids were still little. 50, they were getting older. I had 2 adult children and one that was struggling, and 50 was hard.
But it talks about here the importance of empathy and understanding and acknowledging aging concerns. So I need to be more empathetic and acknowledge that you're having these issues.
Oh my gosh.
And everybody knows I'm really great at empathy.
Yeah.
But it says ideas for meaningful celebrations. Surprise parties. Do you like surprise parties?
Mm-mm.
You don't like them?
Not really.
You've thrown me a surprise party.
We have discussed it. Yeah. I mean, surprise parties are fun if you get them once.
Okay, surprise party. Check that off the list. Intimate dinners.
You gave me the best surprise party.
I did.
When we were first married. That was absolute. 2 of those really.
I don't remember.
Were just fantastic. Yes, when you.
I used to do big things for your birthday.
Yeah, you did the whole theater. That's tiny
right.
little theater.
It was when a river went
pool tight theater.
No. That goes back. So.
We did pool tight theater first, and it was Harvey.
Let's talk about how great a husband I was when I was young.
That was a really good one because...
So I bought out all the seats in a little theater.
It was tiny, like 35, 40 seats in this little intimate theater.
It was a 99-seat theater. But anyway, we invited all of our friends.
Didn't seem that many.
You came in on a Sunday night.
Because we both did plays there.
Well, after that, we bought the theater out. Do you remember what the play was? Harvey. So it was the imaginary rabbit, and then at the end of the show, I had somebody in a rabbit costume come out and bring the birthday cake. And all of our
And
friends
the
were there.
lights came up, and it was like all my friends. It was all
Well, it
people
was so
I
funny
knew, and I
because
was so shocked.
In typical Suzanne fashion, she walked into the theater and she was like, "Oh, we're going to the theater tonight. This is great." We walk in and she's like, "Oh, what are you doing here? Oh my gosh, here's another one of my friends. What are you doing here?" And it took you a little while to realize, oh wait, I know
They're all here for me.
I know everybody in this theater. And we did. It was the play Harvey, and you did that. And then like the next year I had pressure, and I think I gave you Brad Pitt for your birthday.
Yes, you did.
And we booked out a movie theater, and all of our friends came in, and we watched
River Runs
Through it with Brad Pitt. And I used to do big parties for your birthday. Wow.
Yeah.
How about that? You want a big party for your 58th?
I don't.
Okay. So it says surprise parties are a good idea. Next one is intimate dinners.
I love an intimate dinner.
Who would you like to have an intimate dinner with?
You mean like anybody?
Anybody. If you could have your own birthday party, and it's not Elio or John Mayer. Anyone except those
Could John
two.
Mayer play?
Oh, God. Yes, he can play at your birthday party.
And then we could sit back and talk after.
If I was Mark Cuban and you were Tiffany, I'd give you John Mayer birthday party.
Oh, my God.
But intimate dinners, memory albums. You want me to
I think, you know who I would invite to my intimate dinner?
Who?
Patricia Heaton.
You like her?
I love her.
Yeah.
I think I would have her. And I think that we would be fast friends.
Somebody told us that Patricia Heaton was taking a women's trip.
I told you.
Someone, I don't know, somebody that talks to me all the time.
That'd be me.
But you said that Patricia Heaton was going to Israel with a group of women. You're like, oh my gosh, that would be so great to go to Israel.
I know. I would love to go with her.
And the cool thing about her trip was, it's not the typical Israel trip. They were going to retrace the steps of some important women in the Bible.
Yeah, just the women. I just thought that was such a neat take on it.
And being a husband, I was like, okay, I'm going to look into this. And I looked into it, and the dates were in May. And I said, honey, do you really want to go on this? Because it's during the month of May. And you said, wait, you mean I would miss the 500? No, thanks. So here's this intimate dinner. When you are sitting there with Patricia Heaton, can you say, hey, I like you, but not more than the Indy 500?
I would just say, you need to plan another one, and I'll go on that one.
Well, here's the thing. It says memory albums. I've never really given you a memory album. Maybe that's something I'll do. Your mom, when your dad turned 50, I always thought it was cool that she sent letters to everybody.
No, she had them send letters to Dad.
But first she sent a letter out to them saying, John Hall is turning 50.
Of course, this was before Facebook and email and all that kind of thing.
He got this big book of letters from all these people from around the world. And it took your mom like 6 months to do that.
Yeah, it was huge.
Have you ever done anything for me for 6 months? Has there anything been that big? I don't think so.
No, when I got your brand for Christmas, that took me a hell of a long time.
That's right.
And
Thank you, Sarah Quinn, for that.
A lot
assistance.
of back and forth and downtown, and
so this year's
that
birthday.
Was hard.
This year's birthday, I'll go ahead and tell you. So we're having a family celebration on Sunday after church. Yes. Our family celebrating you. We're going to your favorite restaurant, and on Saturday night, you don't know this yet, but you're going to have a little girls' intimate dinner.
I'm having dinner Saturday night with Sam and Natalie and Jules.
I got to cancel that reservation because Liz
at Maggiano's.
Liz and Missy are joining you or Liz and Denise are joining you at Portofino. So we'll just reschedule that to a girls' night.
I told them that we can go to Portofino, but it's not intimate dinner because remember I'm taking Sam and
well, there you go.
Natalie
that's communication. So I'm going to reschedule that. Intimate
I told
dinner.
you that
Summer was going to serve you drinks and all that kind of fun stuff, and I was going to be a designated driver. But
you're not home. You're out of town.
I was going to be a designated Uber orderer. So yes, I am out of town on Friday and Saturday.
So we have to.
Okay, we'll reschedule that. So you'll have an intimate dinner with the girls.
I told you I was taking care of those girls.
I didn't listen. Okay, so next, turning age
next
concerns.
Next podcast will be on communication.
Actually, it probably should be. Turning age concerns into opportunities, reframing aging as a positive journey and chance for new beginnings. So think about your 58th year. What new thing do you want to do in this next year?
That's a very good question because there's not a lot I hadn't done, to be real honest.
Think about what you want to do this next year. And another thing I like this is creating new traditions. It says that how couples can create new traditions that make aging a celebratory rather than dreaded occasion. So
I don't think mine's ever a dreaded occasion. I love my birthday. As far as February 1st, it's my birthday month.
It is your birthday month. Well, the other thing we can talk about.
But I just am having a little hard time with the number this year.
We are now at that age where maybe we say, hey, on our birthdays, we're going to take a trip. This month, we are going on a trip.
Yes.
It's a trip. We're going on a cruise with some friends. And you said we're celebrating our birthdays on that cruise.
I know you were not excited about
I
that.
don't want to celebrate my birthday on a cruise because I don't want them singing happy birthday to me in front of a whole bunch of other
You
people.
better tell Lisa that, because she will 100% will set that up.
Well, I don't want to celebrate my birthday
Yeah,
on a cruise.
you better take it up with her, because she likes that.
But it talks about creating traditions. We could commit that every February we take a trip together.
Well, here's the thing.
Then you have something to look forward to. I mean, you mentioned Lisa, our friend Lisa. She loves to have a cruise in her app at all times. So she's like already planning next year's cruise.
But here's what we've done the last couple of years. And this was my rebuttal to her on the cruise in her app argument, is that I like to have Hawaii in November. That's what I like to have. That's what I like to have for you and I, because that is...
We're celebrating my mom and dad's birthday in November. So is that what we're doing? We're getting away to Hawaii?
Yeah. No, but November is a great time to go for me, because I feel like we've talked about how much I don't like the end of summer and losing summer. And that sort of gives me something to look forward to before the holidays, because when the holidays come, I'm a crazy mess and I have a lot to do. And I enjoy the holidays. And then if we have another trip in February, that gets me through my seasonal depression.
There you go. Well, think about what you're going to do for your 58th year. What big rocks you want to achieve or do, because 60 is coming. So sorry, didn't mean to bring that up. But okay, so we can.
I would like
traditions.
my children to drive.
Oh, that'd be a good one. That's not really something you can control, but okay. So
it kind of is.
As we go on. Talking about your birthday, and we'll wrap this podcast up. And thank you for our listeners for listening to us.
Indulging us a little bit on this.
As you're getting older as well. It says, reflect on the partnership and teamwork and celebrating life stages together. We have experienced each of these decades together, the 20s, the 30s. I wish I knew you as a teenager, because I would have made fun of you so well.
You would have made fun of me so hard.
And if we were in class together, I mean, could you imagine?
Oh, you would have been so mean to me.
I was so friendly in school growing up.
A nerdy little girl.
I would have gone into the band room and waved at you.
That was junior high.
Well,
I wasn't in band in high school.
So, it's interesting though. We have grown through these decades together, and
I love where we are now, even in comparison to where we were super cute Ken and Barbie back in the early days.
You don't think we would have been friends in like elementary school?
I think I would have worshipped the ground you walked on, and you would have made fun of me hard. Yeah.
Well, what do you know? So, what do you think every man wants for his birthday?
You know what every man wants for his birthday.
Exactly what every man wants. You know, it's funny because I always told people that on your birthday, that's the one time when you're a married guy that you get what you really want for your birthday.
Oh, you're so gross.
I lost a friendship over this because one certain friend of mine, I already mentioned him in this podcast, but we were playing golf and his birthday was coming up, and I told him, I said, you know, the birthday is the greatest thing. I said, every year on my birthday, I wake up and Suzanne is pleasuring me, and it happens every single year.
Even just to hear you say
it. And he goes, really? I said, absolutely. I said, that's like the wife's one thing she can give you when you're married. That's like the one thing you should look forward to. You should always have it on your birthday. I said, every year Suzanne is so faithful in doing it. I was lying, and I was just telling him how great it is. I couldn't wait for my birthday. And on his particular birthday, I'll never forget this, his wife called. And you know who I'm talking about.
I do. I know exactly who you're talking about.
All I hear, I say, hello. And she goes, I hate you, Jon Stewart. Click. She's never really talked to me since that. But he went home and evidently was trying to get that one special thing. But I hate you, Jon Stewart. Okay, in wrapping this up, I'm going to share 10 closing jokes to honor Suzanne's 58th
Oh, you've been
birthday.
big on these closing jokes lately.
Well, I like them. You don't like dad jokes, but these are all kind of good jokes. Okay, so some closing jokes to honor Suzanne's 58th birthday. Happy birthday, by the way. Here we go. Okay. What's the secret to having a smoking hot body as a senior? Cremation. Okay, number two. I used to know a couple who grew fruit trees together, like our neighbors over there. They've got all those fruit trees. Yeah, they lived to a ripe old age.
Oh.
What's the best part of old age? That it doesn't last very long. That's kind of sad.
You're not making this any better.
Okay, how about this one? Which underwear brands do seniors love best?
Fruit of the Loom.
It depends. There you go. Got you on that one. Old age makes us great multitaskers. Why? I can sneeze and pee at the same time.
And toot.
And oh, great. Thank you for putting that one in there. Our most popular podcast still to this day, I looked at the downloads earlier today, is One of Us Loves to Poop. I don't know why. Like, it's right ahead of Jesus. So
Because it's funny.
I know, but episode number 2 that has like a lot of listeners is One of Us Needs More Jesus than the other. Mm-hmm. So someday when we're at the judgment seat, I'll go, Jesus, you're like number 1, but you're actually number 2.
Tootin' is really right up behind you.
Lord. One benefit of old age is that your secrets are always safe with your friends because they can't remember them.
I was going to say because they're dead.
There you go. Age is an issue of mind over matter. If you don't mind getting older, then it doesn't really matter. That's kind of where you are.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 8. Stop thinking of them as hot flashes. Think of them as your inner child playing with matches.
I had a hot flash sitting here just a few minutes ago.
There you go. Okay, here we go.
Know.
Now that I've gotten older, everything's finally starting to click for me. My knees, my back, my neck.
100%.
There you go. Okay, the last one. I called the incontinence hotline recently. They asked if I could hold. There you go. So there you go. So thanks for joining us on the Marry Your Best Friend podcast. I'm John. This is my beautiful wife, Suzanne. And hey, follow us on socials. You can share the link to marryyourbestfriend.org. You can email us. Tell us what you think about getting older. We'd love to hear from you. And Suzanne, thank you.